Well, um, today is my oldest's birthday. Um, he turned 26 today. I really miss him. I wish I could go back and make things up to him. I just, time got away from me, and with no help in parenting and not really being able to keep a straight routine, and I just, anyways, I've already talked about depressing stuff this week, and I mean, I think about my son just as much as I think about my brother, but I can't go there tonight, especially since my depression is still pretty bad. And I went to go see my case manager today, and I thought she was a no-show. Sorry, really exhausted today. I don't know if you could see it, but my eye just twitched. Oh, by the way, if any of you are wondering what this is, I can't remember the term or what doctors call it, but if you see anybody with these white spots, it's due to high cholesterol. They can be removed. You have to go to like Dr. Pimple Popper, um, and they can make a little slit and pull them out. At first, I thought they were just weird um, zits, and this one, whenever it was really tiny, I was able to pop it and get something out, but after that, no more came out. And there's also this, like, I can't remember because I did YouTube it, and this guy, he showed the process. I can't remember, but it's a liquid, and I think it might be the same type of thing that you use on warts, and you put it on a Q-tip, and somebody else has to do it, and you have to be really, really, really careful because if you get it in your eye, you'll go blind. But you just dab it on the white part. Like, you gotta get a really good coat, because the guy that I watched the video on, he said that he did it once, and it, even though it started working, it didn't do what he wanted to, so he had to go back and reapply it. And I've been thinking about that, because if I go to like a dermatologist, is that what they are? Is that what Dr. Pimple Popper is? But if you go to a dermatologist, I mean, it's a blade and it's by your eye, but then again, it's chemicals and it's by your eye. But if you do the chemical thing, it like makes it scab up, and it looks really, really gross, and it, yeah, it looks bad, but, and it takes like 4 to 6 weeks to fully heal. So I don't know if that's actually something that I would be considered doing. I do have someone that would apply it. She has like OCD about being meticulous, and so I think she would be a candidate to do that. Anyway, I got back to my spot after all the practices were done. It was way past um, 36 hours, and already dark because it's getting darker earlier. And I just moseyed down here. I did remember that I have like this camping fan light thing that's supposed to charge in the sun. So I pulled that out because trying to make my palette in the dark. I've done it before. It's not fun. And like folding everything up and putting everything away in the dark is not fun, but I can do it. I guess it's a skill. I'm talented. Anyway, um, so I brought that out, and because the rock wall has like this wire mesh thing, it's pretty thick. It it's thicker than like chicken wire, but that's what it reminds me of. And I guess it's to hold the rocks in place. I don't know because there's like gaps in the. It doesn't make sense to me, but anyway. So I just hung it on the wire, and I was able to get everything laid out. It's a process. I have to fold and roll and all this and put everything away. I would much rather make a bed from scratch every single day. But so I got everything laid out, and I was playing the day over in my head, and I had one really weird day, like on the bus ride, because I got picked up. I went over to a friend's house and did some laundry, and whenever I went back to the bus stop, whenever I got on the bus, it was pretty full, so I had to sit in front of these people that live in a really, really rundown hotel. And I guess they're married because she said something about, well, you're my husband or something. I can see like a pimple bump on my nose. I just don't. Maybe not. Anyways, and whenever I got on, because I don't like it when people talk to me, I don't like being acknowledged. And she said, hi. And I ignored her, and she kept saying hi. So I turned around and I looked at him and I looked at her. I said, oh, hi. And I turned back around, and her quote unquote husband, if that's what, oh my God, he sounds like a little baby child, like a girl, like an adolescent female child, whining the whole entire time he talked in high pitch. It was so freaking annoying. He actually reminded me of my ex-husband or my husband whenever he doesn't get his way and he whines and complains and blames everything on everybody else. Bitch. Anyways, I shouldn't have said that. That wasn't nice. But am I nice? They were pretty much arguing. I guess she's gonna have like a family meeting with her brother, and he doesn't want to be there because they're gonna talk about him or whatever. Uh, and they both smell funky. I mean, I try to make sure that because I know I smell like outside. I smell like dirt because I'm laying on top of sand, even though I've got other things underneath me. But I do my hardest to not stink. Um, wear deodorant, take sink baths, take showers like 2-3 times a week. Um, and if I'm not able to, I try to at least sponge bath. And but anyway, and so I heard her, and she was like, are you gonna help me take a bath? And I was like, oh my gosh, can't you save that TMI for whenever you're back in your hotel room? But the scary thing is one day I was at the library. I think it was like the end of my second week or the middle of my third week, and no, it was in my second week, and I was at the library, but they have this one entryway, and it's just a big open space, and there's like vending machines, and there's like a bench up against the wall, and it's just open. I don't know. And I was sitting on the bench reading a book while my phone was charging. While my charging was phone. Oh my gosh, I am so exhausted right now. And this guy, her husband, comes walking up to me. Oh, hi, how are you? And comes at me, giving me a hug. And I was like, well, because I try to be open minded. There are people out there that, they're not quite right. So I just figured, he needed a hug. It kind of reminded me of the guy that posts YouTube videos where he's blindfolded and he has a sign that says, if you're depressed or whatever, if you need a hug, or and he just has his arms stretched out, and random strangers will come up and give him a hug, and tell him if they're depressed and what they're depressed about or whatever. And so that's kind of where my head was, but I don't get paid to think. So he was talking to me and everything, and he was like, I haven't seen you here forever, and blah blah blah. And I was completely ignoring him. I just kept reading my book. And whenever he said that, I was like, maybe you should look up and take a glance and see if maybe you do know him. And if I do know him, I wasn't registering it at all. Just whatever. And so he told me, he goes, well, I've missed you so much and I love you and blah, blah, blah. And, me and my brother or my cousin or somebody, we're staying at this one spot. But if we get a hotel room, you can come over. And if I have to, I'll kick my brother out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy thinks that I am someone that I'm not. Like someone he knows, and he thinks that I'm that person. And so he kept talking to me. I kept reading. I was like, that's nice. And he was telling me how they hang out in this one tunnel over on some street, but sometimes they're in another tunnel somewhere. And there is this one building that I walk by, and it has like a walk through tunnel in between the buildings, and it has like a covering on the top. So I was like, well, maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. So I don't care. And I was just like, okay. And I kept telling him, I don't want to be around people right now. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. Just leave me alone. And he wouldn't. And so he gave me like two more hugs, and the third one, it was kind of, I was like, I pulled away. I was like, dude. And so he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and go. And I was like, all right. And then I got like 3 pages into the chapter that I was reading, or like 3 more pages into that chapter. And I see him come walking in with this, it wasn't, lullabies. Anyways, so I saw him carrying this teddy bear. It wasn't a small one, but it wasn't large. It was like a good sized medium one. And he started walking up to me, and I said, no. He goes, oh no, I wasn't going to give it to you. I just wanted to show you this. And it had like this necklace or something on it, and it had 2 little dangling hearts that said I love you. I was like, oh well, that's nice. And the thing is that whenever, before he left the first time, he was like, well, let me go ahead and get your name. And I looked at him, I said, if you know me, you should already know my name. So that didn't make sense. But they got on to the bus that I had to transfer on, and I could have stayed at the bus stop, um, the main transfer bus stop, because the bus was actually going north and I was needing to go east, but I didn't. It was already dark and I didn't want to stay at that bus stop with all the other degenerates that I've been talking about. And so, oh my gosh. I wanted to remove his vocal box because it just, this high pitch, it could have like called dogs from like 5 miles away. It was horrible. And she kept telling him, just stop, just stop. Like, she would start a conversation. I'm not going to argue with you. You're acting like a child. Just stop. Just stop. You're going to get us kicked off the bus. Just stop. I'm not going to argue with you on the bus. But then she would argue with him. I mean, not like yell and scream and cuss and all that, but it was like getting on my nerves. I was like, seriously. But anyway, so they got off at, because there is a bus stop right there at the hotel that they're staying at. And whenever they got off, I was like, oh, thank God. Just thank you, Lord. And so then the driver, he was like, well, do you need a transfer to the green? I was like, nope, I'm staying with you until you go out east. I just figured it'd be safer here with you than out there in the dark with all those lunatics. But this bus driver, he doesn't have a sense of humor, and he doesn't like me anyways, because the very first time I ever rode with him, I had asked him a question, and I think he responded, but I couldn't hear anything, so I had to ask the people on the bus, did he say yes? And they told me, yeah, he did. I was like, okay. And then um, whenever we got to a stop, this lady got off and she was like, what's your name? And he gave her his name, and he was like, what's your name? She goes, oh, I just need to know for reference. And so whenever I got off the bus, I was like, I really hope that tomorrow you wake up on the right side of the bed, because your attitude is awful and you need an attitude adjustment. And so I went to the bus that I was getting on, and I was talking, there was like two other ladies on that bus, and I was talking to them about the bus driver, and they were like, oh yeah, he's been like that ever since he started. He's always got an attitude problem, blah blah. I said, well, I'm done with it. So I called the transportation center, and I left a complaint in detail of how he was treating passengers and ignoring questions or just not speaking up. I mean, that's his job to answer our questions, especially as, there was, I think I had him one other time, and this kid was riding, and he didn't know Salina. He had just moved here, and he was trying to figure out where he needed to get off, and they didn't have any maps available, and I didn't know the exact location where he was going or what buses he needed to transfer to. Otherwise, I would have helped him out. And he just, the kid asked him like 4 different times what stop he would need. No. He told him, he said, I need to get off at this stop. That's what the last bus driver said. And he told him like 4 times, can I get off at, because he didn't know when to pull the cord to let him know when to stop. And the fourth time he said something, he was like, I already heard you. And I was like, no, you don't get paid to have an attitude and freak out on passengers. Especially, he even told the bus driver, this is this I'm new here. I don't know my way around. And all the other bus drivers, you can ask them 20, 50,000 questions, and they've got a positive attitude, and they will give you the answers that you need, and they will direct you, and they will let you know, don't go downtown to transfer, go to this stop and transfer to that bus, and then you'll go to this place and you'll transfer to that bus, and that bus will get you where you need to go. And they're super helpful. So yeah, I called the transportation office and left a complaint. And I said, hey, y'all really need to give him an attitude adjustment. So the second time that I rode with him, it was like the day after I had called. And I was like, oh my God. So I got on the bus and I asked him a question. I think that's the time. And I said something like, well, it would have been nice if you had spoken up. And he said something about, well, you need to. He didn't tell me to calm down, but he said something in that idea. I don't know how to word it. And I looked at him and said, um, maybe after I've already given you an attitude, you can tell me to do that. I haven't given you an attitude yet. And I went and sat down. And that was the last confrontation that we had and then tonight I hadn't seen him for like a week and a half. And then tonight he was driving my route. So he's gotten nicer. So obviously they did talk to him because I actually heard him tell one of the riders, so am I going to see you tomorrow? And she was like, no. And he was like, well, you have a wonderful night anyways. Anyway, um, whenever I went into the Salvation Army tonight, well, let me go ahead and do a part 2 on this one as well because I'm already past 20 minutes and I don't want to have to re-record it like I had issues the other night. So hold that thought, I'll be right back.